Hey everybody, and what's up, and welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, Piers Austin from Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance. Today's guest I'm going to have on is Dave Crist. He is a current Impact Wrestling star where he is in a stable called OVE, Ohio versus everything. I can't really do a good Sammy Callahan impersonation, I'm sorry guys, but in that stable it's Dave Crist, his brother Jake, Sammy Callahan, and Madman Fulton. Dave has wrestled all over the place, mainly a lot of work in the Midwest area. He is a former six-time HWA record tag team champion with his brother Jake. He's also a former CZW tag team champion, also with his brother Jake. They've held titles all around the world. They're a very established tag team. They started out as known as the Irish Airborne, and then after a while, they changed their name to OI4K, which is Ohio is for Killers. And if I dare anyone to find a more badass tag team name than that. But guys, before we get into it, I just want to do a special thank you to Wrestling Maniacs, Wrestling Review Society, Generational Wrestling Society, WCW Nation for allowing us to stream this interview in their group. Also, I want to make a special shout out to my homie, my good friend, Michael Mados, who makes this amazing artwork for me for my shows to give us, something special for our guests to see as well. Also, our sponsors, I just want to send a special shout out to Signal Studios. My boy Rafi, he has a recording studio in Sydney. He has a lot of cool stuff, recording for bands. He can master music. If you're a pro wrestler and you want a theme song, he'll be able to create one for you. Or if you just want some music that you can write your own sort of stuff too, he's your guy to see. He can hook you up. Also, Mayan Belts, who the point person is Eddie Williams. He's a great guy. They do the best championship belts around, and you guys have to check him out. And our last but not least, A-Rock Designs, my good friend Ashley Rodriguez. Her husband Kevin does the War Room every Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. But anyway, not about Kevin. Ashley makes some amazing cups, hoodies, shirts, keychains, and really custom designs. And again, I've got mine on order, and I can't wait to get them. So check out all of our sponsors' pages for all of their services they offer. It's fantastic. But guys, without further ado, I want to bring out my guest, Dave Crist. Dave, what's up, brother? Thank you for coming on.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. How are you coping in this world of lockdown, brother?
Well, luckily, about 2 years ago, I decided that it would be beneficial for me to go ahead and build my own gym, so I'm not missing any gym time. I got a gym out back in the garage, so I don't have to worry about anything, honestly. The only thing that's kind of annoying is my roommate, Samantha. She's pretty annoying. Matter of fact, she's right here. Are you familiar with Samantha Heights at all?
The name.
She was Heart of Shimmer champion for a little bit.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
She's actually my roommate.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have Crash Jackson here to entertain me as well. Damian Chambers, another one of my students, is here regularly. Marcus Mitchell. So, I have a lot of really good people around me. A lot of really good games of Uno went on last night. So we probably played that for about 3 or 4 hours. So we're getting a lot of time into Call of Duty, a lot of time in on the gaming consoles. If you guys are into playing Call of Duty, come check me out at Crist OVE. It's pretty easy. D as in David, Crist as in Crist, and then OVE as in Ohio versus everything.
Yeah, man. So that's awesome. I actually do play it, but obviously I've got 2 kids, man. So my time in front of the Xbox is very limited.
I understand that completely.
Yeah. But Dave, look. So you started wrestling. You grew up in Ohio. Obviously, that was being your place, and you're very proud of that, as everyone knows.
I talk about it a lot.
Well, that's good, man. It's important to be proud of where you come from. That's the roots, and it also shows like how down to earth a person yourself are. And I've never spoken to your brother or Samuel or Fulton before, but that's the sort of feeling. Like I have seen some interviews with those guys, and very humble sort of gentleman you seem to be. So I'm gonna start off with what got you into wrestling? What was the first thing that you saw that just was like, oh?
So
Oh.
I would say my first real memory of wrestling was my dad used to build blanket forts for us, my brother and I, when we were really young. I think I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years old. I remember sitting in a clothes basket, like a round white clothes basket. I was sitting there, and we just got done watching a John Wayne film, and Raw came on. I'm going to say Raw. It might have been something different. I'm not for sure if it was exactly Raw, but WWF came on nonetheless. And just started watching it. And I just got, caught up in, the different characters, the pageantry behind professional wrestling as a whole, seeing Hulk Hogan being larger than life, seeing Ric Flair being a dastardly heel. It was just things like that. Because when I first started watching, it was probably, like I said, it was probably 86, 87. So we watched a lot of like NWA. Like my dad would go and get tapes from the grocery store. So like they had WWE or WWF at the time. They had some NWA stuff, and then like a couple of the people that were really into wrestling were bootleggers around this area. So I got a lot of bootleg tapes growing up. So I would say that having couch blanket forts made for us by my dad, and then watching wrestling with my dad and my brother as we were in our little fortress of blankitude. So like that's kind of what we kind of came up on, every weekend.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the main thing. I think a lot of people sort of get into wrestling at that really early age and fall in love with it. Did you ever have a moment, like growing up, where you weren't into wrestling, where it sort of fell off for a while, like when you hit teenage years?
Not really, because I always watched it. Growing up, I didn't necessarily have a tremendous childhood. Like once my parents got divorced, uh, I lived with my mom. So at a very young age, 11, 12 years old, my curfew became let your conscience be your guide. They didn't care what time I came home as long as I could go to school the next day. But we would be home by 9 o'clock because DATV showed a lot of like local wrestling, and they also showed a lot of ECW. So we would watch Monday nights, and we would tape either Raw or Nitro, depending upon which one we watched. So one would get recorded, and the other one would be viewed live, and then the other one would be viewed on Tuesday. Wednesday we had local feds. Thursday we had Thunder, and then SmackDown. And then the next day we had ECW. They came on at 9 on TNN, and before it came on TNN, it was on DATV. And then Saturday they re-showed all the hardcore TVs from back in the day on DATV. So every night around 8:30, 9 o'clock was always wrestling time. So like we would always be home by 9 to consume as much wrestling as we could. And I know this is going to date myself, but it wasn't until I was 18 that we had the internet, because the internet had just pretty much started. We had America Online through these little discs. And once we had America Online, that's when wrestling just kind of blew up, because we were able to download matches off different torrents and stuff like that, and keep it on our computer. So we were constantly like downloading and just watching wrestling. And then we found out.
So quick question: how long did it take for you and your brother to fuck up the family computer with all the downloads?
Oh, see, like my mom got real pissed because I had acquired a computer of my own, so we didn't have a family computer. I acquired it through other means when I was younger. So just so happened they had the multicolor iMacs, or the big old. It was like the purple old school like computer monitors and the towers. by Apple. I don't remember what they were called. I'm going to say they were iMacs, but they were definitely not iMacs of today's. But I can't remember what they were called. But one came up missing from our school, and they happened to find its way to our bedroom.
That's awesome.
So my mom
Kevin,
thought it was a lot of porn that we were downloading, and it turns out it was just How to Be a Wrestler by Taz.
Kevin Rodriguez says, "Hey Dave, OH."
I know.
So Kevin's wife actually made you a custom Nightmare Before Christmas cup.
Yes, she did.
That actually, because you've got a Nightmare Before Christmas sleeve, man, and your tat's a bad fucking ass.
Thank you, man. Actually, like it's like a coffee thermos type deal. So like it keeps stuff warm, but I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. So whenever I have tea, I usually put it in that thermos, and it usually keeps it, good and warm for me for a long period of time. A little bit longer than I would like it to. I would like it to get a little colder so I can drink it faster. But that's me being a complaining little bitch.
So Wayne Bullard, who's a very, very good friend of mine, and he's also Kevin's partner over Wrestling Review Society. He wanted to ask which one was greater to you, WCW, or WW. I think he meant WCW or WWF back in the day.
I'm going to say ECW. That was my favorite growing up.
Yeah, I think you and I are probably around the same age, Dave, like maybe give or take a couple years. And I think in around that late 90s, early 2000s, for all you millennials, hardcore wrestling was probably the most in thing in the world. In pro wrestling. And, I went searching for it just like you did with downloading and stuff. And I remembered like downloading all these IW Mid-South cards.
What was crazy is once we found out what RF video was, it was the end of the world because we were constantly buying stuff from RF video, and it was like, okay, we need to slow down because this is taking way too much money.
Well, we actually have Ashley Rodriguez. What up, Ashley? She actually says she made the cup that you have, so she said it's good for hot and cold. So there you go.
I know, but I like hot tea. I'm a little wuss. I like warm tea, not hot or cold. I like warm.
Well, maybe put a hot, cup and put some ice cubes in it to settle it down. So,
you know what? You're way smarter than me.
I don't know about that. I'm not the smartest.
Shut your butt.
But you know what? As I was saying, like, you were saying like ordering off RF video and stuff like that. Like, I can remember back at like 17, 18, using my parents' phone to call up like, the CZW offices, the XPW offices, and tape ordering like that because like buying online wasn't really a thing,
Yeah, absolutely not. Well, like I said, like our mother. Okay, so one day I'm setting up all the downloads in the morning, and my mom, she comes to my school. She picks me up, right, and she goes, "You have some explaining to do," and I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, what did I do? I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Like, what could I be getting in trouble for?" She takes me to my own room, and she goes, "Every morning, you set this thing up to download stuff. Show me what the fuck you're downloading. And if it's fucking porn, you're grounded." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I know you and your brother are addicted to porn. What the fuck are you guys doing?" And I'm like, oh, let me show you. And then I would just start playing some wrestling, and she goes, "Are you gay?" I'm like, what? She goes, "Why are you watching men roll around in spandex?" I'm like, "Because that's what I'm going to do for a living someday, Mom." She goes, throws her hands up. She goes, "I'm fucking out of here."
So Wayne just corrects himself. He meant ECW, not a double WCW. So
that's fine. We got it.
Yeah. So Angel Medina says she found cocaine, but I think that's what he meant. Do you know, like, Angel is actually a friend of mine. He's actually a former ECW original.
Really?
Yeah. He was the leader of the Baldies, and they had a massive.
That's what's up. Okay.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I interviewed Angel probably about a month or so ago, and we've just become really good friends. And we're actually working on a project as well together that's going to be coming out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but there you go, man. He's a huge fan of yours as well, bro. So he's excited to sit here and watch this interview. So with your brother, what's the age difference between you two?
So let's see here. I am 30. I'll be 38 this year. He'll be 37 in July. I'll be 38 in November.
So
about a year. What's up, Angel? How you doing, my man?
So, he likes your work.
I really like your work as well.
Edward Lindsay, he would like to know what part of Ohio are you from?
Dayton. Well, originally I was born in Shawnee, Oklahoma, moved to Seattle, Washington, went from Seattle to Enon, Ohio, Enon to Midway to Springfield to New Carlisle, and then I reside now in Dayton.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I did a lot of moving as a kid. A lot of shaking and moving. I mean, there was Tip City in between. There was Enon again in between. Once my parents got divorced, I lived in two different areas at the same time. So that's the way that works, right?
Edward said he's from Cleveland.
My man. How about those Browns?
As I said, Angel said he likes your work. He's very much loves all wrestling, Angel, and he's just like all of us, just a fan of it for life. So as I said, me, him, and Kevin actually, Kevin Rodriguez, the three of us have got something in the works that we've got happening, which is going to be very cool. I'm pretty sure you'll dig it, Dave. But
I'm just mad that he hasn't asked me to come back yet. I had a really good time on his podcast, and I'm gonna tell you the same thing. I'm gonna be pissed if you don't invite me back someday.
Dude, you have an open invitation. Okay, like I'm putting it out. You
just fucked up.
Nah, bro.
Fucked up. Someday you're gonna be doing something, and I'm just gonna be bored. Just pop on, like, what up, though?
Man, you always have an open invitation, brother. I promise you that.
I appreciate that.
But once you started training wrestling, like where did you initially do your training? Why don't you let some of our viewers know?
Well, what's really crazy is my brother Dustin Reyes, John Murray, a bunch of other kids. I was about 15 years old. Pardon me. We started our own backyard fed, and we kind of just stole the heart and soul of ECW, because we were such a fan of ECW growing up that we just wanted to do something fun there. So I was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and build my own ring. So I built my own ring in welding class. Dustin Reyes was an artist. So Dustin just, painted some stuff up. My cousin was a pretty good cook, so he chefed some shit up. My brother was my brother. He usually just did whatever we asked him to do, because he was a laborer. And everybody else, John Murray, Smog, Kent Dubb, all of our old boys, they were like, they were just kind of the laborers, but all of us had the forethought, and all of us had the idea and the vision that this is what we wanted to do, is create our own fed, because we were too young to do it. So every Friday night that it wasn't football season, on football season, it was Saturday night, because high school football is huge in Ohio. You're not going to outdraw high school football. We knew that at an early age. So we started to put on our own shows. And at first, it was just 50 or 60 people would show up. It would be us building or making flyers, passing them out, word of mouth type shit. And then next thing you know, like, we're having 200 people in a barn. But we had lights, we had smoke. I mean, we had the whole nine. And a local TV, what was it? A local news station here in Dayton, Channel 7 News. Did a story about backyard wrestling, and it was supposed to be the horrors of backyard wrestling. So they came and they were like, oh, well, we're going to check these guys out. And then when they were looking at our stuff, they're like, oh shit, you guys are pretty good. Because I had bought a tape from RF Video of Taz. Taz was kind of teaching you how to bump and roll and do different things, along those lines. And then us paying attention to the way people lock up, the way the headlock was, and all that kind of stuff. So after the news story, this guy that went to church at my friend Derek's church was like, "Hey, I saw you on the news. Where are your buddies at? Take me to where they are. I want to meet them." So we met up with him, and he explained to us that he was trained by Charlie and Bobby Fulton, and that he used to work for WWE back in the day, or WWF. Did stuff with ECW, did stuff with WCW, just did a lot of journeyman work in the early '90s. So we're like, okay, why does he want to meet up with us for? So we were, we started to do some stuff. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, listen, I'll train you guys for free, but you have to work for me for free. And we were like, okay, I'll fucks with it. And then he started training us. Like, I started training when I was 15 years old.
Jeez.
And our backyard fed was getting so big once we started getting trained, and we learned how to write stories, and we learned how to build the card and all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, we were wrestling 2 or 3 times a night because there wasn't enough of us not to have a real show. So we were wrestling 2 or 3 times a night, and it didn't matter to us. Like, we were just having fun, and that's all that really mattered. So we were doing our stuff, and then all of a sudden, here comes like all of these local feds that wanted a piece of us. All these local feds were like, listen, you guys are going to stop this, or we're going to shut you down. Because we started to draw 200 or 300 people at our barn. And the barn was a rather large barn. It was like, at one point in time, the barn housed horses and different cattle and things of that nature. So it was like a double sized barn. And the way we had set up is we had bleachers in the chicken coop. We had bleachers on top of the chicken coop because the chicken coop was about 20 feet wide, or 20 feet long, about 40 or 50 feet, long. And it was, like I said, it was 20 feet deep. So we could just fit bleachers back there. So we had people bleachered up. We had bleachers against one side of the wall, another side of the wall. So we had everyone tiered up because we saw how ECW had bleachers in the background, and how it looked like, even if it's a small arena, it looked full. So we had grown ass men coming down to our barn trying to fight us and stop us because we were outdrawing them. So at this
Jeez.
point in time, it's like, okay, motherfucker. I mean, if you want to fucks with it, we can fucks with it. So as soon as motherfuckers started showing up, we're sitting there, fist fighting grown ass men, like dudes in their 30s.
That's
So,
insane.
hey, I mean, we love wrestling, so fuck it. So we're sitting there doing our thing, and next thing you know, the athletic commission shows up.
Someone
And they're like,
stooged
hey,
you.
you can't do this. And we're like, actually, it's private property, so we can do this. Because we weren't renting out the building. It was Dustin Ray's dad's barn. So
Yeah.
because it was private property, we can hold any event that we want.
Yeah. But it sounds like someone tried to stooge you off, though.
Oh, they absolutely did. A dude by the name of Double P Tom McLean definitely fucked us.
Fuck you, Pete.
He came to our building, and this is the first thing that kind of soured me to professional wrestling. I was 16 years old. He came to me and was like, "Listen, I have an in with high spots. I can get you all the stuff. Give me what you guys have saved." We handed over, I'd say, every bit of probably two or 3 grand to this
Oh,
to this grown ass adult that was supposed to get us some shit. So him and his boys came up. They wrestled with us for about 6 weeks, but they sucked. They were so bad. Like, they had never had formal training, but we didn't know that they didn't have formal training. Not that we had formal training before we got formal training while we were doing shows, but all these dudes were just dudes that didn't want to pay to get trained.
Mm.
So once my trainer came to one of the shows, he saw them. He goes, "Oh no, don't mess with those dudes. Those dudes are crooks. They will steal everything that you have." And I was like, "Oh, well, we already gave them, $2 or $3 grand. What should we do?" And this dude comes at me like, his name was Matt Drees. He was probably, I don't know, 20, 21 years old, and I was 16. He comes at me with this pipe wrench, and he goes to swing this pipe wrench. I move out of the way. He clocks Double P because I was in the middle of talking to Double P. They planned on trying to hit me in the back with a pipe wrench.
Jesus.
And then try to run because we shut the barn doors and we basically like shut them in, and we all were right where the doors were, so they couldn't get out. So we wanted our money back. So they end up getting out. We let them out or whatever because there's no there's no there's no money in organized crime, I guess.
Yeah.
At that point,
No glory in kidnapping.
Yeah, if we would have beat them up, we would have went to jail as young kids. So whatever. So we just chalked it up as a loss of fuck us, I guess.
Yeah. So Kevin just said, Dave, you have an open invitation to go back onto his show anytime, any topic. By the way, fuck the Browns, go Ravens. Kevin, don't start shit on my show, brother. But so did you end up getting that money back off these dudes?
Well, right after I said fuck Kevin, he can go eat a bag of dicks, I did not get my money back.
Well, that's
Will you tell Kevin fuck his show?
No, come on, man. He's got a good show.
They should have never gave Kevin any money.
So, obviously, once you then started going out into the other independents, how did you guys find getting bookings? Like, did you find it relatively easy because you guys had been on TV, or did it?
Like it was really difficult for us when we first started because in the state of Ohio you couldn't start wrestling until you were 18. So we just trained and did backyard shows until we were 18 years old. So for 3 years we were doing those shows, and then once we kind of broke into professional wrestling and we did our first show, it kind of became easy from there. We started getting booked a lot because a lot of dudes weren't doing shooting star presses, a lot of dudes weren't doing moonsaults to the floor, things of that nature. So that was people were booking us just to see us do that, and they're like, hey, if they do it, we don't have to do it. They get hurt, fuck them, who cares? So and what's funny is a promoter actually once told me that if we would have got hurt, then whatever, it was an experiment just to see if we could get over, and we got over. And he tried everything he could to bury me. Gave me a ridiculous name, gave me a ridiculous thought of what my character was going to be, and then I went and I owned the character. And then he changed that character, and he's like, okay, I want you to be this dead guy. And I'm like, I fucks with it, let's do it. So then I started doing that, and everything that he threw at me, it was just kind of like, okay, this kid's good. And Angel might know this dude. His name was Big Daddy Roger Cox. He used to do Atlas. He used to work for Atlas Security back in the day. Him, Giant Bobo, Aaron Action, and what was the other dude's name? His name is Jeff, but he wrestled as Khan. There we go. His name was Khan.
Yeah, right.
They were wrestlers that used to work for Atlas Security.
Oh, wow. Right. So they were well, how long ago was that? That was
oh shit. When they worked for Atlas Security, that was 98, 99. I didn't have my first actual wrestling match till 2002.
Yeah, right. It sounds like you and your brother had a very similar start in wrestling at an early age, much like the Briscoes, like I remember seeing their stuff in the early 2000s as well. And
well, what's funny is when we used to wrestle at Briscoes all the time with Ring of Honor, we used to always, compare our childhoods and how crazy similar they actually were.
So Angel's got a comment for you. He says, "Oh shit, I do remember him. I used to punch him in the dick on pay-per-view."
Sounds about right.
So, once you guys really started establishing a name for yourselves, like, obviously you did a lot of work with the Heartland Wrestling Association, where you guys are a six-time tag team champions. How did you find, obviously, working for promotions that obviously they're not major promotions in the world of wrestling, but they're major independents like the Heartland Wrestling Association, IWA Mid-South, CZW, Ring of Honor.
Well, when we first started to do, so my brother was still in high school when I started to train at Heartland. Heartland was actually a developmental territory for WWE at the time. So when I was there, a lot of WWE wrestlers were there. Like Dreamer was there, Raven was there, the Island Boys, Rosie and Jamal were there. Rico was there for a little bit. We used to share TV tapings with OVW. So I would have to go do security and things like that. And at one point in time, I had my head shaved because I wanted to change my looks. I had a mohawk all through high school. So I wanted to change my look up. So I shaved my head. And when I was really young, people thought I looked like a really skinny Randy Orton. So they were like, oh, you could be the half brother of Randy Orton. So they planned up this whole thing at OVW, how I would be the half little brother of Randy Orton. And they shoved me in lockers and they beat me up and stuff like that. And then Orton got called up. So it was like, we did all these for nothing. And no one's ever going to see them because they didn't air on TV. They didn't see the light of day. They probably got reused. So, I don't know, whatever. It's wrestling.
It would have been a cool angle, though.
Yeah, it would have been. Like, oh, your mom was a rat and my dad banged you. Okay, cool. Or he banged her. Cool.
So I'm going to bring someone in here, Dave. You did sort of throw a little bit of shade at Kevin. So here he is.
Oh, okay.
Dave, long time. OH!
I-O!
Other than the Browns, I'm a huge Buckeye fan. Brother, in all honesty, you were the first guy to give me a chance. I'm eternally grateful, and anytime you're willing to come back to the show, I'm very lucky to have you.
Well, anytime you want to be proven wrong about how great the Browns are going to be this year, we can do that.
Look, Dave, we're going to jump.
We're going to jump. Right now if you want.
We'll jump on the Xbox and we'll play Madden, and I will whip your ass.
Okay.
Angel says one Roman in the house.
name your stakes, Dave.
I mean, if I had Xbox, if you go ahead and grow up and get a PlayStation, we can play.
No, you said we can make a bet right now. What's the bet?
I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Hey, how about this? If they split again this year, if the Browns win one, Ravens win one, nothing happens. If the Ravens win out, I will let you send me a jersey. I will take a video of me wearing a Ravens jersey, explaining how amazing the Ravens are. Then I'll mail it back, and vice versa.
I think that's a fair bet, gentlemen. I'm happy to be the.
It's an incredibly fair bet. I just got one thing to add, if I may.
Okay.
That amazing cup my wife sent you. You lose, you promote that on your social media.
Oh, I'll do that anyways.
I know. I just don't like asking for favors, but if it's a bet, then it's a bet.
No, like I'll do it anyways. The only thing that sucks,
but
about the cup is it's so awesome and it's so good that everybody else in my house uses it rather than I do. Like everyone's in love with the cup.
We'll cut him a good deal.
Watching everyone drink something out of it, I'm like, that's my fucking cup, motherfucker. What do you do? Like, I'll grab someone's hand, I'll smack it, I'll tell them no.
Hey, tell him I know the owner of the company.
Like,
We can cut him a good deal.
You can get one, bro.
But no, in all honesty, Dave, dude, we had such an amazing time with that interview. Both of us being from Ohio, finding out that I grew up literally less than 30 minutes from you. And I know I speak for Piers when I say this. We just don't want to look like fanboys when we keep bothering you on social media and stuff like that. That's why I kind of like hang back a little bit.
Like, but see, here's the difference between me and other wrestlers. I will actually talk to people.
Careful what you ask for. Dave brought up this really good thing on my show. You know, all these pro wrestlers are worried about their ratios on social media. The second I started following Dave and I reached out to him, he immediately followed me back. Dave is one of those guys that doesn't give a shit about ratio. If you want to talk to him, he wants to talk to you, and I fucking love it.
I'm telling everyone right now, if you add me on social media and you have an intelligent question or something you want to talk about, like as of late during this whole quarantine thing, all I'm doing is talking about football on Twitter. Like each day, you know, we're talking about the draft coming up, and we're talking about everything.
So let me ask you a question, Dave. Just because we're in this whole quarantine situation, and I actually have something coming up. I mean, obviously you're a fantastic professional wrestler, but before that you were a huge pro wrestling fan. Over on my show, and Piers, I'm not trying to steal your spotlight, so I apologize if I upset you. I actually host a game show, Wrestling Review Society Jeopardy, where all the questions are wrestling related. Would you be interested in being a contestant on the show?
Only if I can force my students to do it with me.
I will do a game show of wrestling trivia between you and your students. Piers, you can be my co-host.
Let's do it.
Perfect.
Let's do it. Because my students are dumb. They don't know shit about wrestling.
And Angel just said, "Preach it, Juan Strowman."
He calls me that because I'm Puerto Rican and I have a beard.
The thing that sucks about my students is they're so fucking intelligent that it pisses me off because they're so smart and shit. Except for my student Ben. He's pretty dumb.
Yeah, we say the same thing about Kevin too.
Yeah, he's the dumb one.
Well, yeah.
Of course
now to quote a I wouldn't say great man, but above average man. This is the funnest, most intellectual interview I'd ever done, and I'd love to do it again. So go fuck yourself, Piers.
Oh, come on, Kevin. You know I love you, bro.
I know. This is all just to work, buddy. I love you, man. Seriously, Piers, you're like my brother from another mother, man.
Well, I just want you to see this right here. It clearly says, fuck the rest right back there. The big old...
So you clearly stocked up on toilet paper, Dave. I'm proud of you.
I did. I stacked up on the terrible towels. I have a lot of terrible towels at my disposal. I would say if the Ravens actually had something good to use as toilet paper, I'd use that. But, I mean, I guess I could use a murderer's jersey.
Oh, nice. We didn't try to decapitate anybody with a helmet, Dave.
Hey, you know what? I'm okay with Myles Garrett doing that to a racist.
Oh, gotcha. Piers, I'm sorry for overtaking your show. Please continue.
No. So I just want to say, Dave, obviously, we were talking before the show started, and last night I was watching a promo you did when you were the holder of the CZW Wired TV title, who you beat you took the title from Jake. And to be honest, it made me go on this spiral of trying to find Dave Crist promos. Was a promo that always come easy to you? Was it something that you had no problem with, or was it something that you really had to work on?
So when I was in high school, I was really afraid to talk. Like I was a poor kid, so I didn't really have very many friends or anything like that. So it was one of those situations where I didn't really talk much until I was I was probably a junior, I'd say, when my brother was a freshman. So once I became a junior and I kind of opened up, it just became something that was very easy for me to do. Like, I became part of the student of the liaison. So that helped me with public speaking. And then, we did this whole debate my senior year. I'm straight edge. So I was trying to lift the band of straight edge t-shirts. They thought that when you wore shirts that said drinking sucks and drugs are for losers, that it was offensive towards other people. So the way I combated that was I find it offensive that these people are using Confederate flags, which stands for racism. So I we did this whole big debate where people voted and all that kind of stuff because it was an election year. So it was like they used that as a way to teach us about the electoral process. So of course I lost because there was only a small number of straight edge kids in school, and then the people who actually smoked weed and all that kind of stuff found it offensive that it said drugs are for losers. Which I wasn't saying that you're a loser for doing it. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying, fuck it, I'm a kid. Leave me the fuck alone. But
have you
having
never?
to get up, so what?
Sorry, no, go on. Sorry.
So having to get up in front of the student body and make my presentations, it made it easier to talk. So as soon as I got into wrestling, it's always been easy for me to talk. The problem that I have with promos, and all of my students probably hate me for this, but I talk way too much. When I start to get on a roll, I just keep talking. Fuck, I'm doing it right now. So fuck.
Well, you're on a podcast talking about yourself, so I'm glad you're
fair.
talking.
That's fair.
I'm glad
There's
you're
only
talking,
one person
bro.
that knows my life better than me, and that's my brother. But he probably forgot most of it, so I'm probably the one that knows it best. But it's just one of those things where it became very easy for me to speak in front of people. And I never used the whole just imagine them naked bullshit. It was never something like that. It was always, fuck these motherfuckers. If they don't like me, fuck them. If they want to fight me, let's go fucking fight. I'm cool with that. But it's just one of those things where I was never afraid to speak my mind. I was never afraid to just do me. And that came very easy for, promos. The majority of the promos that I cut at a young age was always, okay, let's do it again, but shorten them up. You got 90 seconds. You're going 2 minutes. 90 seconds, bro. Go. So I had to learn my internal clock on how to hit that 90-second mark.
Yeah, and that, you know what? And that's one of the things, like when I was watching this promo that you did last night and doing it on your brother and saying, you're the nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt, but I'm a real piece of shit. And, really, but no, it's not even that, but it was believable. It was a believable promo. And, for me, like, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm never going to claim to be a pro wrestling genius or anything like that. I'm a fan, just like everyone who's watching this, everyone who watches shows. And for me, in watching that promo, I believe that you and your brother were like gonna tear the fucking house down. And then watching that ladder match that you guys had, like, you know what I mean? Like, the promo was the sort of, almost like the sprinkling of the salt and pepper on the steak, but before, and the match being the steak. And that's something to me that I really was able to, like the promo hooked me, and then I was like, fuck, now I have to watch this match. You know what I mean?
Well, like I was telling you, what's really crazy about that match, I don't remember anything about it. And normally I remember my matches, but I remember me throwing a kick at him backflipping me and giving me a super kick as I was backflipping. From that point on, I was knocked out. I could not remember where I was. And like,
scary shit.
We still win another 12 minutes. And it was like, we were the first. Okay, so we were the opening match at Cage of Death. And that was our very first Cage of Death. So we had to go there to fucking kill it. Because if you're wrestling at the ECW, Angel will tell you this. If you're wrestling at the ECW arena, which we were at that point in time, and if you fucked up or you couldn't go, they let you know. Like, I saw dudes get please fucking die chants. I've seen people fucking get fucking, your mother should have swallowed. Mother should have swallowed. Shit like that. And dudes waiting in the parking lot to try to fight wrestlers that sucked. So the Philly fans are fucking nothing to fuck with. So it was like, okay, so we got to go out there. We got to kill it. And like I said, I got knocked the fuck out. Like I was Debo in that bitch. And we just went out there and just, you know, luckily my auto fucking, we still hit that really dope fucking knuckle lock, springboard up, moonsault into the DDT boy. Like, I don't even know how the fuck I did that. But I see clips of it and I'm like, I fucks with it.
Angel says he agrees about the ECW crowd at that arena.
It's crazy.
But you know what? The thing is, well, the fact that obviously you could be knocked out and like, you know, pretty much out on your feet, and your brother is then able to sort of like, you know, did he like, obviously he would have realized something's up.
My brother didn't even know.
Oh, shit.
No one knew until I got to the back and I puked. Greg Excellence always tells me the story. He goes, do you remember puking next to me, looking at me, and goes, oh, fuck, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't think I can go out there. And I looked at you and said, you just wrestled, bro. And I was like, no, I didn't. You're like, he tells me that story all the time. He likes to tell me. But, like, I don't remember it. I don't remember a single thing about it. And, you know, I've seen clips. I've watched the entire match. And I'm just like, God damn. I'm not half bad, bud.
But, yeah, and I think that's, like, I think as well, like, when you're wrestling your brother or like even someone close to you, like a family member, you know, like I've got a bit of a combat sports background, and whenever I sparred with someone who was like a really, really good friend of mine, we always went that little bit harder. Did you find
headhunted, right?
Yeah, but did you find that with your brother? Like anytime you guys were in the ring, like you guys just level of stiffness is much more than what you would experience elsewhere.
Oh yeah, we fucked each other up. We headhunted. Like every time we were in the ring with each other, we were there trying to fuck each other up. Each other way harder than we should have.
Have you ever had promoters tell you guys like, don't do that shit again?
No, never. Like we've had people like my favorite story is this. Whenever we go somewhere and they're like, okay, listen, we just had a match with you. It was really great. But coming into this, we were really nervous. And I'm like, what for? Like, we were just really afraid that you and your brother were going to beat us up. Because we've heard the stories about how stiff you guys are and how you guys just don't give a fuck. You want to be hit hard and you're going to hit hard. And as soon as you said, I'll let you open up with strikes, it was like, okay, what the fuck? So they would hit us first, and then however they hit us, we hit them accordingly.
Yeah. So not tit for tat, but if you want to go stiff, we'll go stiff. If you want to work light, we'll work light.
Yeah, if you come for stiff, we're fucking you up, bro.
And I think that's like in a lot of wrestling in today's day and age, you know, people really are quick to point that out. Like, oh, when they see something in the ring, oh, yeah. You know, like, oh, this wrestler looks like it did a thing.
Oh, this is real.
Yeah, man.
This is when you got really mad. No, this is when I fucking tricked you.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you did, like, you've done your job correct, and you've worked the crowd or the audience, and that's what wrestling is, man. Like, you know, there's been times, man, where I've seen some heels in wrestling where I've sat there and go, I legit want to punch you in the fucking dick. Like,
well, like, what's really funny about, like, you know, baby face and heels and all that kind of stuff, I honestly, I don't subscribe to that anymore.
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't subscribe to that anymore, nobody wants to be a bad guy. Everybody wants to be the cool, tough guy. Everybody wants to be the cool guy that gets all the last words in and is afraid to put somebody else over. Like, if I'm a bad guy, I don't need shit. I just need a microphone. I just need to be able to talk shit. I need to hit my Baker Mayfield, and that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah. So Kevin's just got a quick question. Yep.
Actually, Piers, thanks for bringing me on. Dave, it's amazing to see you again. We're going to set up this game show hopefully really soon. But I'm just finishing up at work, so I'm going to get out of here, guys. Piers, awesome job. Dave, I'll hit you up on social media in a little bit.
Sounds good, bud. Thank you.
See you, Kevin. Talk to
All
you
right,
later,
see
bud.
y'all.
Yeah, Angel actually has a question for you, Dave. He wants to know, how stiff are you? Are you Road Warriors or Powers of Pain stiff?
I would say I'm more like Rey Mysterio stiff.
Rey Mysterio stiff. I like it. Also, Jeff Parthay, another good friend of the show. He says, "What's up, guys?" Jeff is a
What's up,
massive wrestling
man?
fan, so I'm sure he's going to throw up a couple of questions for you. But
Hey.
so when you guys got into obviously the feuding in CZW, and you did have some amazing matches and get knocked out, then obviously you've done some work in Ring of Honor. You've also done some work in IWA Mid-South. Now, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about that because IWA Mid-South is run by Ian Rotten, he's got a notorious reputation. I know, it's surprising. But he's got a somewhat bit of a reputation. Did you ever have any issues dealing with Ian when you were working for IWA?
Yep.
Moving on, or would you want to talk about it?
No, we can talk about it. So it was one WrestleMania weekend in Chicago. It was like when they first started doing WrestleMania weekends. We were wrestling for Ring of Honor, and IWA had a show. That was the night that we wrestled Tyler Black, Billy Rock, Merrick Brave. It was a big ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the show was called or anything like that, but it was a huge ladder match. It was the one where Merrick Brave went for the shooting star press and then gutted himself on the turnbuckle. We actually got in trouble for wrestling on that show because Ring of Honor fit the bill, and if they're going to foot the bill, then IWA needs to pay for something, and IWA was just using all this talent and not paying Ring of Honor. So we had to leave, and we told Ian, we're like, hey man, like we got told we weren't allowed to work for you anymore. It was pick you or pick Ring of Honor. So we're going to go ahead and go with Ring of Honor because we have a contract with them. We can't say no. So at that point in time, we had to quit. And then Ian didn't pay us for that show because we were supposed to get our pay at the next show. And we were just going to get our pay given to us, by a friend. But then Ian just stopped responding to us, refused to give us any money. So later on, I started to do a lot of Whitmer. Started doing shows in Carmine, Illinois, and Evansville, Indiana, a lot of different places like that. And BJ goes, "Hey, would you work for Boss again?" And I'm like, I mean, if I'm going with you, yeah. So there was one show where we're wrestling in Bellevue, Illinois. I think it was Bellevue, Illinois. And legitimately 4 people showed up, and then everyone's girlfriends got shoved on the bleachers. And, they were just trying to make it look like it was something. So CZW had a card that came out. Sammy was on the show. Swan was on the show. Deej was on the show. Masada was on the show. There was a lot of motherfuckers on that show. So Ian comes up and he goes, "Hey, listen, I don't have your trance and I don't have your pay." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "The next show, I got you." And I was like, "Okay,
next time, basically."
Okay, that's fine. The next show, we get there kind of late, so I don't get to talk to Ian before the show. I want to be respectful and I want to be professional. So he tells me I'm wrestling. I wrestled Sammy on that show, and then I wrestled Jason Strife on the next show. So I go out there, wrestle Jason Strife. We have a good match. We come to the back, and Ian's like, "Hey, you see, there's only 6 people out there. I can't pay you again. I'm sorry. Like, as soon as this Smart Mark video check comes in, I got you." And then I was like, "Ian, like right now you have," because Bellevue was 6 hours away from us. So like that's $100 in trance, easy.
Yeah.
$100 two-way or $100 there, or 100 there and back, and then 100 there and back. There's 200 there. It was 150 and 150. So right now you're 500 deep into me.
Yeah.
Like, you got to give me something, motherfucker. Come on. I talked to Beach. Beach is like, okay, listen, we're do this one last show. If he doesn't pay you everything he owes you, I will give you some of my money, and I'll make sure this motherfucker pays me. And I'm like, okay, Beach, cool. So I go, and I don't remember what happened to BJ, but BJ couldn't be on the show for whatever reason. I don't remember what it was, but we go out there, and once again, he showed me the PayPal account. He showed me that he has nothing. Smart Mark hadn't paid him yet. He's still waiting for that PayPal check, or still waiting for that check to come from Smart Mark. And I'm like, okay, and right now you owe me three checks. That's 150, 150, and 150. That's $450 plus 100, 100, and 100. Now you're up to 850, bro. Like, come on, like, or 750. I'm sorry. I was like, come on, you got to do something for me here. Give me something. And he's like, I'll give you $50. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he goes, I promise this will be the last time. Give me your PayPal account. I'll PayPal you. I'll never fuck you again. I promise. And I was like, okay. So then we left. He never PayPal'd me. I got on fucking a couple podcasts. I talked shit about him. Ian was really mad at me. And then one day, out of the blue, Ian's like, hey, would you ever come back and work for me? I was like, yeah, if you pay me all the money. He goes, come to the show. I'll take care of you. I went to the Jeffersonville Arena, gave me all of my money right there up front. 4 years later, but all of my money right there up front. Boom.
At least he made good on it, man.
He 100% did. And then from that point on, me and Ian were cool. So at one point in time, when I was a young punk kid in the business, yeah, he fucked me a little bit. But then, later on, he made it right. So I don't have any ill will towards Ian. I love working for Ian. I love listening to Ian's stories. Ian's a character.
He's very charismatic, so it's
But he's
sorry, what was that?
He's no charismatic enigma.
No. Hey, gimmick infringement, brother. You can't use that one. But Jeff Parthay wants to ask, what's one move that you will not take for one reason or another?
I'll take anything. I don't really care.
Yeah.
What's the worst? Break my neck?
Dude, that's pretty savage.
I'm just saying, it's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Wrestling accidents happen. Things go wrong.
Yeah.
But that's why
I'm very confident in my ability, and I'm very confident in the ability of the people I'm in the ring with. That nothing bad will happen. So I'm good.
Well, I think when you're wrestling at the level that you're wrestling at now, you're wrestling with people that are at their peak. They're on point. They know what they're doing. They're experienced. Obviously accidents can happen, but it's still, obviously you're dealing with the next level of professionalism, and I'm sure you'd probably agree. Angel actually says he lost respect for Ian Rotten when he beat up that poor kid who stiffed Mickey Knuckles.
Fucked up.
Yeah, he said Mike Levy. I think that's correct. Yeah, I've heard that name.
No, that was fucked up. Like, I wasn't there for that. I actually was not privy to any of that until I started to really get on YouTube, which was I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I was not privy to any of that. Yeah,
right. Well, I only heard it not too long ago myself. I probably heard that about 6 months ago when I was listening to a different podcast. But wrestling for Impact and being a member of OVE. So yourself, your brother Jake, Sammy, and Madman Fulton comprise of that stable, and you guys really come across and seem to be like a very well lit unit together. Yep. How is it, wrestling with, obviously being paired up with these gentlemen, obviously that you were very close with, obviously with Jake and Sammy for years. How is it working in this stable for you? Like, how are you finding it?
I mean, I think the hardest part of working in a stable is finding out who you are and staying true to yourself and like just trying to like find out where you fit. So I think that's the toughest part. But coming into Impact, Sammy and my brother and I, we had been working for years, so we already had pretty much our stick pretty much down. So we knew what we were doing, how we were doing it, all that kind of stuff. So that all that was easy for us. It's I like I said, the most difficult part is finding who your identity is. And then once we added in Fulton, it was like, okay, cool. Well, now there's a new dynamic, and we toyed around with a couple things, and then we're just like, you know what, fuck it. We're just gonna see what feels natural, what happens. Like, let's stop forcing this and just have some fun. And then once we started having fun, the promos were. I'm not saying the promos were ever bad, because I don't think the promos were ever bad, but the promos became easier. The match work became easier, and like what's crazy is, so do you remember the Bound for Glory match with us versus LAX when Sammy got when Sammy got introduced into our stable?
Yep.
So prior to that, I had hurt my lower back or whatever. Well, that match, pretty much fucked me pretty good. That was right after that. I found out that I had four bulging discs in my back, and they're pushing on my sciatic nerve. So I was having a lot of problem with leg numbness and all that kind of stuff. So going into that barbed wire match, no rope barbed wire and all that kind of stuff, that was all in the same weekend. Like one happened on a Sunday, and then we had the barbed wire match, 5 days later. So it was like everything leading up to that, my back just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm a professional wrestler. We always wrestle hurt. That's what we do. But right after that suplex, my whole body went numb, and I thought I was paralyzed. I was like, okay, so now I'm going to be shitting in a diaper. I'm fine with this. I made peace with it right there on the mat. And then Sammy and my brother pulled me up, and I felt my toes, and I'm like, okay, I'm good again. So it was like one of the scariest moments, getting pinned and then not being able to feel my legs and then thinking that I was paralyzed.
Jeez, that's scary. That would be like the most scariest thing in the world to go through that and in front of that many people as well.
Yeah.
You would be, yeah, I can't imagine what the thought process would be like that, for that to happen. So, how did you find, in that mindset of that happening, what was going through your head?
Well, it was last day of tapings. I didn't want anybody to know I was hurt. I didn't want anyone to know what was going on, because I didn't quite know what was going on. That was November. Actually, it was on my birthday. November 10th is my birthday. So that actually happened on my birthday. Like that match was my birthday present. That no rope barbed wire match was my birthday present. So I waited until January to go get an MRI done. Went and got an MRI done, and they were like, okay, listen, you got to do this. So then I started going through physical therapy again, and it was like things got better. And now it's fine. Like I still have problems running and jumping occasionally. It just really depends on if I've stretched well enough. But it's one of those situations where I knew coming into this sport that there's a possibility that something bad could happen, and if something bad happens, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm not going to be sad. I mean, I've got to travel the world on somebody else's dime.
Yeah,
because of professional wrestling, and I'm not trying to name drop or
no.
show off or anything, but because of wrestling, I've got to tour the world with the Insane Clown Posse. I've been told multiple times by Violent J how I'm my brother and I is his favorite tag team of all time. I got to meet Snoop Dogg. I got to meet Dr. Dre, Eminem. Got to meet all these celebrities that I would have never met otherwise. I got to meet, a pretty good friend of mine now, George Kittle, Gary Barnage. Both of them were tight ends in the NFL. Just the other day, I had two of my idols growing up follow me on Twitter, and it's like, why would Eric Metcalf follow me on Twitter? Dudes like Riff Raff getting a hold of me asking if I want to wrestle sometime and things of that nature. And it's like, all these dudes that are like celebrities that I don't feel like I'm on the same level as, and they're looking at me like I'm on the same level. It's just insane to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know.
You're now an equal with them, and
yeah. And like, even like, sometimes, wrestling fans, and this is something that, I always say, like, if you follow me, I'm going to follow you back. If you talk to me, I'm going to talk to you back. It doesn't matter who you are. So there's a lot of wrestlers that won't, talk to their fans. A lot of wrestlers that won't reply to them unless it's negative. I don't understand why people always have to wait till someone says something negative. If you have something to say, let's chat. Let's have a conversation. I'm an adult. You're an adult. I'm no better than you.
But I also think if a fan's going to message a wrestler and say something negative, why? Why go out of you? You're basically being a troll, and they want that response.
But
so
see,
the best thing you can do is not even
responses are always the best.
Hmm.
My responses are always the best. Like the other day, someone was like, "Man, it must really suck to be the third wheel of OVE," and I was like, "Actually, I'm the fourth, to be honest. Thanks for noticing." And they were like, "What?" I go, "I'm the fourth, not the third, dumbass. Obviously, Fulton's before me now. I'm the low end of the totem pole. In this situation, I'm the dick. Everyone else is everything else." And they were like, "Okay." And then they DM'd me like, "You're not mad that I just called you out forever?" I was like, "Fuck no. I don't give a fuck what you say." Like, I'm not going to get mad at you. If this is your opinion, it's your opinion. Yeah. I happen to feel that the Ravens suck, but a Ravens fan is not going to think they suck. So, the world is full of people with opinions, and it's just a matter of just respecting the fact that people have opinions. If their opinion is that I suck at professional wrestling and I don't do well at what I think I do well at, then that's fine. That's your opinion. I'm not going to argue, and I'm not going to sit there and try to change your mind, but I will fuck with you. I will troll you back. I will make fun of you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you want to be a fuckwit, you get treated like a fuckwit. And that's the sort of mentality I have. Like, if you want to be respectful to me, cool, I'll be respectful back. You want to be an asshole, then fuck, you're going to get an asshole response. Like,
I mean, if you want to eat a bag of dicks, do it. I'll watch. Let's see if you eat a bag of dicks better than I wrestle. Bet you don't.
So David C. Russell, he asks, absolutely, from wrestling at Rockstar Pro, David made you what? David, you want to just maybe come back to us on that one? Angel has said he's got a run, but he wants to wish you a blessed career and lots of cash. Relish on, and he also says, relish in the moment. It goes fast before you know it, brother.
I know it, my man, and trust me, I'm saving all the money I can.
Yeah. So what? Obviously, you guys are in your peak now, but I tell you what, I want to make a recommendation to everyone who's watching this. If you want to watch one of the best, like, 6-man matches, I recommend you go and watch OVE, Sammy, Jake, and Dave versus the Lucha Bros and Ricky Shane Page.
Oh, that was a fun match,
dude.
I was hurt then.
Yeah, right. I didn't actually pick it up. Like, that was a really solid match. That was,
man.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that one, man. I've actually watched it a couple of times. Like I said,
have you seen our match against Desmond Xavier, Shane Strickland, and Leo Rush yet from Wrestle Circus? That's a really fun one too, and I actually had a pretty fun match with Tessa at Wrestle Circus as well.
Yeah, you've had a few matches with Tessa as well, man.
Yeah, she's always beat me too. I've never beat her.
She's a bad bitch, bro. Like,
I know. I always come in underestimating her, like, oh yeah, I got this, no fucking. And then she beats me. I'm like, okay, that's what's up. Okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this. Obviously, like a lot of like the internet wrestling community, gets on a little bit of a hype. Like, what AEW has Nyla Rose as a women's champion? OVE has Tessa Blanchard. It's fucking wrestling. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, Tessa is the champion because she's fucking good at what she does, and it's it's groundbreaking. And the thing is, it gets people talking about it. Same with AEW having Nyla Rose as their champion. Like, I just go, it's wrestling. Just enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean?
People get up in arms about everything, though. Like, everyone has an opinion about everything. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, if people are going to be mad at us for putting Tessa over, okay. Well, then you might as well get mad at me for putting over Samantha Heights because I've let her beat me before too.
But I think it shows. I think it shows the comfortability as you as a performer that you could go out, lose to Tessa, be pinned by Tessa, and still walk away from it like without damaging anything. Where you look at years prior when they did the whole thing with China, and I don't want to sort of get off topic here, but there was dudes that were refusing to work, and obviously it's either you're not comfortable as a man, or you're not comfortable that you're going to be able to continue to grow as a performer and get and get over.
No, I totally agree. Like, I don't know. I'm not a tough guy by any means, but when all that stuff was happening, there was a wrestling fan that was like, "You got beat by a girl, which means I could probably beat the shit out of you." So I sent him my address, and I'm like, "Okay, here you go. Here's what's this? Like, that's my address. Come beat my ass."
Have you ever had anyone show up?
Never. Whenever a fan challenges me to a fight or says that I'm lesser than they are, or that they think they could whip my ass because I got beat up by a girl, I just send them my address. I'm like, here you go. There's my address. Why would you send me your address? Well, I mean, I got a backyard. Yeah, I got a backyard that's fenced in. It's a privacy fence. No one can see us. Don't worry, we can fight. We can fight to the death if you want. You pick.
I've got a shovel right here. Like,
yeah, I got some shovel. I got a shovel and some lye. No worries, I got you.
So David wanted to ask. He meant you progressed wrestling at Rockstar Pro and made you better today.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
So anyway, look, we've been going here for nearly an hour and 15 minutes, Dave. I know you've got a lot to do, and you're obviously a busy man. Before we end the show, there's a little game I like to play. We were talking earlier. You actually have been to Australia and to Sydney, which is my hometown. So this is going to be something you may know some of these. Okay, so the game is Guess the Aussie Slang. Okay. So I'm going to say either a word or a sentence, and you have to guess what I'm talking about. Okay.
Right.
All right. Come over in the Arvo, and we'll have a Barbie.
You're talking about barbecue.
Yeah. Okay. So barbecue, and what's an Arvo?
An Avo, I'm going to say come to the yard. Come to the house.
It's an afternoon. Like, come over in the Arvo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, 50-50, that's fine for me.
Yep. Okay. So here's another one. Dave, I'll tell you what, mate. That bloke over there is a fucking bludger.
Oh. Well,
what's a
bloke is a fellow, and a bludger is like, they're a fuck. The way it was explained to me by a lady that I date, if you say that someone's a bludger, that means they're a jerk off, basically.
Yeah, like someone like a bludger who's someone who's lazy, essentially. Someone who would, like, if I was to say to you, hey Dave, we're gonna go to the gym. You come and pick me up, grab me a Powerade and a pre-workout on the way.
I'd call you a jerk off, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can like drop me at the gym, wait for me, and then you know what I mean? Like, well, even a bludger probably wouldn't even be going to the gym. All right, here's another one. That guy is fucking dodgy.
Dodgy is shady.
Yep, 100% correct. Back in a minute, just going to the dunny.
The dunny is the bathroom.
Correct. You're doing really well. Mate.
Well, I got a blowy in the dunny once.
Oh. Whoa. Wow. Yeah.
A blumper, matter of fact.
Oh, whoa, whoa! We heard it here first. Dave Crist gets Blumpkin in a toilet.
I had finished my poop first. It wasn't during.
Okay, we'll continue on with that. I can't make any comments because I'm married and got kids, and my wife's in the other room, and she's probably watching this right now. So, no, he said it, darling, not me. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey, listen, I'm a shitty human being.
So
watch my CZW promo. I'm a shit human being. My brother's an amazing one.
Hey man, I'm just as shit. So, all right. So we'll go to another one. All right, where we go. Dave, just before I came on here, out down the road, almost had a blue with one of my neighbors. What's a blue?
Oh, shit. Damn it. She used to say it to me all the time, but that was like 2013. That was such a long time ago. It's like 7 years ago.
Have a blue. I had a blue with a neighbor.
I think that's an alcoholic beverage.
No, it's a fight.
Fuck, I knew it. Okay.
All right, so we got that. Let's go another one. All right, you want to do a couple more?
Yeah, let's do a couple more.
All right, no worries. Oh, all right, here we go. I had a. Okay. So I picked up this Sheila the other day, and went there, rooted her, and then came home. So what's a Sheila?
Sheila is a female, and
rooted her.
You rooted her. That means you gave her a good deep dicking.
Hell yeah! All right. I'm gonna go down to the servo and fill up. I'll be back in a bit.
Well, the servo is a gas station.
That's correct, man. Look, I think that's it, Dave. You did better at this game than I think anyone else has ever done. So you've really taken it.
I did date an Australian lass once.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. And she was actually from Sydney, correct?
No, she was actually from Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay. So, Dave, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
So, I'm on all forms of social media, David Crist Jr. You can check me out on everything. You know, how about this? Add me on the Twitter. Ask me a question. And we're having a debate. We're having a conversation. Especially now during this whole coronavirus situation. Like, that's all I'm doing is having conversations with just everyone. It doesn't matter what it is. People are just asking me questions, and try to be tasteful. Yes, I'm a piece of shit, but let's be tasteful.
Yeah. Look, guys, as Dave said, hit him up, ask him a question. He's a very approachable guy. And Dave, thank you so much for giving up a portion of your time to come in here and shoot the shit with me. Obviously a world apart, brother. I really appreciate it. Guys, just wanted to give a special thanks and shout out to Wrestling Maniacs, Wrestling Review Society, Generational Wrestling, WCW Nation for allowing me to stream this interview in their groups. Also, I want to spend a special thank out to my good friend, my brother from another mother, Michael Mados, who makes the amazing artwork for my shows. I really appreciate it because I am retarded when it comes to this sort of stuff. So it's good to have someone like Mikey who really comes through for me. Also, again, just want to send special thanks to our sponsors, Signal Studios. I've got to get my sponsor name right. Mayan Belts and A-Rock Designs. Go check out their Facebook pages, guys. They are amazing companies to deal with. As I said, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to shoot the shit with you, and look forward to doing part 2 very soon.
Hell yeah. Thank you for having me. I had a great time, and anytime you want to do this, I'm down.
Sounds good, brother. You may have opened up a can of worms, but we'll make it happen.
Or you may have opened up a can of worms. You keep that in mind.
You have an open invitation, bro. I'm going to believe it that.
I've already told you. You're going to regret that someday.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next time on Shooting the Shit Uncensored.